Rise of the Rōnin is perhaps the biggest PlayStation 5 exclusive this year. It's the open world samurai game everyone's been waiting for. Or maybe that's Ghost of Tsushima 2. The first thing you need to do here is get that comparison of Ghost of Tsushima out of the way. This is not Ghost of Tsushima and it doesn't look as visually stunning. Get that out of your system if you want to enjoy Rise of the Rōnin. Ghost of Tsushima was originally a PS4 game, and I know some people are saying Rise of Rōnin looks like a PS3 game at times. Maybe it doesn't look that bad. The game can still look decent at times, while other times it looks a bit outdated. This game isn't about the graphics, that's just what people expected. This game's all about the open world samurai experience, and there's plenty to explore in every corner of the map. In fact, this is one of the most densely packed maps I've seen in a game. It's not the biggest map, but with activities and quests popping up everywhere, there's a lot to do. There's a bit too much, in fact, that the game can feel overwhelming at times. Even the combat system itself is fairly complex. It's a multi-layered system that offers lots of variety in the combat styles, both in short and long-range weapons. There's so much variety again here that it seems a little bit too much. The game feels like a mixed soup of some popular RPG and action adventures put together. Throw Ghost of Tsushima, Assassin's Creed, Elden Ring, and maybe Zelda Breath of the Wild into a pot and you get Rise of the Rōnin. It's mostly an open world game with some linear missions mixed in. These missions actually have a co-op element to them. Group up with 2 other players online to run through these linear experiences. And you might need all the help you can get because these missions can be challenging to complete. Now keep in mind you do need PlayStation Plus to play co-op. This game even has RPG elements where you build the relationships with NPCs. Your decisions and actions also have a direct impact on the story and the world around you. Overall, there's a lot going on here, which is why the game's pretty large, about 95 gigabytes. Just like how there's a lot going on with the gameplay, there's also a lot going on to the graphics and the visual settings as well. We get a total of 3 modes: prioritize FPS, prioritize graphics, and ray tracing. The first FPS mode targets 60 FPS while both graphics and ray tracing modes target 30 FPS. Now when you look at them side by side, the resolution between the 3 is almost identical. It's not 4K, it's likely around 1080p for FPS mode, around 1200p for graphics mode, and around 1080p again for ray tracing. There doesn't seem to be a huge difference when you're playing. Look closely and the graphics mode does seem to have higher quality textures. Ray tracing mode brings about better shadows and lighting, but if I'm being all honest, the difference isn't anything huge. Now there's a really important setting for the 2 modes: prioritize graphics and ray tracing. You can actually unlock the frame rate in these 2 modes. This bumps up the frame rate to around 40 FPS for graphics modes, so the unlock setting does make the game feel a bit more smoother with the best visual fidelity. In ray tracing mode, this toggle to unlock the FPS bumps it up a lot more. Here I have the unlocked versus the locked, and you can see the unlocked is running at almost a solid 60 FPS in the scene right here. It's close to 60 FPS during a lot of the game, in fact, but there are of course drops. You can see here, as soon as I get into a bit of a fight with this crowd, the frame rate does start to drop into the 50s. Now going back to the 3 default modes with FPS locked, prioritize FPS gets close to 60 FPS most of the time, but again, it's not a solid lock. There are drops into the 50s in some areas. Prioritize graphics mode locks to 30 FPS. It's at 30 almost all the time, but there is this weird stuttering going on that makes the game feel sluggish. Ray tracing mode at a locked 30 FPS is a bit better. There isn't as much stuttering. For me, this game needs to be played at 60 FPS. So either you should choose prioritize FPS or choose ray tracing mode, but unlock that frame rate. So that's really what you need to know about the graphics modes for Rise of the Rōnin. The game tries to do a little bit too much when it comes to the graphics settings, and it also tries to do a bit much when it comes to the overall gameplay and the number of things you can do. Rise of Rōnin is a decent PS5 exclusive, but it's not great. It's an action RPG that's ambitious with a huge scope, but it almost gets hamstrung by trying to do too much. I would give this game a 7 out of 10. Let me know in the comments if you'll be picking this one up. For the rest of the video, I have some more side-by-side comparisons with that FPS counter shown.
I don't want to die!